as iconic fishing destinations go, you don't get anything much more special than this place. This is Rutland Water, 3,500 acres of fishing paradise. And this weekend we're about to see something very special indeed, because here we've got some of the best fly anglers in Europe, and they're going to be competing in the Airflo Spring Invitational.
I love competition fly fishing, lots of friends, and it's just the anticipation of 2 days back-to-back proper competition. I can't wait, I'm itching to go.
This is the Champions League of fly fishing, you know. You look around, you see who's in the car park, it's a star-studded field, but there's a happy-go-lucky atmosphere. Everybody's seen old friends and there's a camaraderie and everything, but I can assure you, underneath the surface, they're all burning to win this.
So it's the competition side of the loch-style that gets you going?
Yeah, definitely. That competition, that sort of, you get out in the water, you compete against a lot of other top anglers and that, so that, that brings a buzz to it. Yeah, definitely.
It's going to be a really challenging day. You've got some absolutely fantastic fishermen here, huge number of international caps amongst them, and hoping for a good day's fishing. It's gradually been getting harder and harder through the last week, as I guess is inevitable because they've not been stocking it, which is good. So whoever catches the most fish will deserve it. It'll be a challenge out there today.
Talk to me a little bit about your team today, because looking around, there's no secret in certainly this type of fly fishing. The age range of the anglers is, getting towards the top end, but your team's quite young.
Yeah, I've got 18's our youngest, a couple in the 20s. We've got a granddad at 62, John Buchanan. But they're youth, and I spotted them on the circuit, and they are the future, and they're competitive. And what I want is not just good anglers, but anglers that want to win. That's important. Their desire. And when we don't win, they hurt, and that's what I look for. If they're not hurting, they're not good enough.
Basically, it's all I've ever been into. My dad used to fish loch-style quite often, so that's where I got my background from. Started fishing on here. Had my first season ticket when I was about 13. And just done it ever since. Now I'm obsessed with it.
Now, the other thing is you're wearing 3 lions on your chest. You have an England badge on your jacket, and something rather special happened the other week, which was you won gold for England. What's that like?
Yeah, oh, that's just amazing. That's my second gold now, and it's just a great feeling. To represent your country and then to go out and win a gold is just absolutely fantastic.
What would it mean for you guys to defend your title?
Gee whiz, it's to win it once. It's my dream, to win it once. To win it twice, well, I can rest easy.
Well, 15 minutes away from the start of this fantastic event, and you can probably hear in the background the roar of the engines as all the boats start to make their way to the entrance ready for the start. Now, I've got some help this weekend in the shape of these two fine fellows, Billy Rankin and Gareth Jones. We talked about international caps. This pair have got a fair amount between the two of them. Guys, I just need to ask you a few kind of your views of what's going on this weekend. Billy, this is going to be a cracking match, isn't it?
Well, you've got Rutland at its best. I mean, this is the best time of year to fish Rutland. It's absolutely cracking. Fly life is abundant, and this is what fly fishing is about, and you've got the cream de la cream, whatever it is, of fly fishers here from all over Europe and Ireland, and etc. And it's just, the standard is so high. Just to be invited to this match is brilliant.
And the man who's done the inviting is you, Mr. Jones. And I see that you've already presented Billy with a trophy this morning, and he's very pleased, so that's lovely.
He's going to win it. No, we're really pleased to promote this event. It was something I'd always wanted to do, because most of the matches are at the end of the year, and you generally find the fishing gets a lot tougher, whereas all these match guys would love to fish a spring match when the fishing's really at its peak, loads of buzzers hatching, and today in these conditions they're going to have a ball. They got light winds. They're going to get a lot of fish. So we should get a lot of action for the cameras.
Now the interesting thing is, I know you're hurting because you want to be out there. You should have been fishing this, but you've got too busy with the organisational duties, and you're joining us on the boat to do some commentary too. How excited are you to see what happens here?
It's going to give me a totally different perspective, because normally you're so focused on what you're doing, You don't really concentrate on what everybody else is doing, so it's going to be quite interesting to see how it all pans out and look from the edge. I'll probably learn a lot today.
Marvellous. Well, look, as I say, we're a few minutes away from the start, so let's get into it and see what happens in this fantastic competition. So, gentlemen, we've made our way out across Rutland Water on a fantastic morning, and we're looking at boat number 53, on the engine Ian Barr and on the point Brad Gifford. This is an interesting pairing. We know that Mr. Barr is a very able angler, and he might have won, the World Championship twice, and Brad's no mean angler either. I'm given to understand that Ian's already had 3 fish, and the routine here is that you kill the first 3, and then the rest of the fish you catch during the day away, they count £2. Is that right?
Correct, and it's 9 fish release after that. So they look well on their way. The fish are up. We can see them moving in the top of the surface there, and the boat behind has just had 2. So game on.
I mean, we're only kind of 15 or 20 minutes into the match, and I get a sense that something special is going to happen today. The conditions couldn't be better, Gareth.
No, the wind's dropped, the temperature's gone up, and you've got a lot of fish moving on the surface. The guys have got big targets here.
And there we can see where Brad and Ian have just gone round the corner, and there is Brad Gifford on the sharp end of the boat, which is a very highly technical term, Gareth, with his net slipped under yet another fish. I mean, there's so many fish moving.
Yeah, they're really on it. Brad's the top angler, and he's going to push Barry all the way. It's just going to be interesting to see if he's releasing this one or if he's already on his catch and release.
So Ian's already ahead because he gave us a signal a few minutes ago, Billy, that he'd had 3. So
I was fishing here last weekend, and definitely fishing onto the point, a point, coming in onto the fish was definitely the way to fish this, and they're perfectly positioned there, absolutely perfect.
You mentioned fishing last week, of course. You and I managed to have a little sneak out yesterday evening to see if we could suss 1 or 2 things out. And one of the things that I wanted to explain to the lovely viewers back at home was a little bit of the terminology that they're going to be hearing with us 3 waffling away for the next couple of days. Now, some of the things that we're going to be talking about over the next couple of days, the terminology might be slightly unfamiliar to some of the people watching. One in particular, you might hear us talking an awful lot about buzzers. Now, if you're an angler and you're a carp angler, buzzers mean something very different indeed. In fact, if you have a little look at this thing on my hand, this is a buzzer. It's a hatching insect.
Well, it got its nickname from bank anglers fishing chironomid impersonations of the pupa state, and when you're bank fishing, especially in the evening, suddenly you'd probably be hit by these huge midge pupa, and they used to make this really big long buzzing noise, buzz, 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 and bang you in the head, and they got nicknamed buzzers, that's why. But some of them are absolutely huge, over 1 inch long.
Yeah, they've got like little helicopters.
They're absolutely amazing, and the fish love them.
Yeah, the trout gorge on them.
Absolutely, and this is the time of year that they start to, when the spring is sprung, and they start to come out the water column. They start off as larvae, which is the bloodworm, and then they turn into pupa when they raise up the water column and then hatch.
So what we've done is we've put on flies imitations which look like the natural insect, little bits of bling in them to attract a bite from the trout. Billy's fishing something called the bung, which is something he's rather famous for. In fact, his nickname is Billy the Bung. Almost float fishing, whereas I'm fishing a floating line with 4 flies on it, with 3 buzzers and what's called a blob. So let's have a little cast and see if we can't entice one of these lovely Rutland trout. Well, the maestro is in. Billy the Bung strikes again. It's taken a little while, in fairness. The fish certainly aren't giving themselves up. They've already seen an awful lot of pressure.
I've got 3 buzzers on, and I think it's on about 9 foot, so quite deep. You've got flies up the line. You've got one at about 5 foot. So even if you're on a weed bed, your next fly up will will be tempting. Lovely, look at that. Rainbow about £3, Andy. Lovely.
The water here, it's just insanely clear. It looks like tap water. It's incredible.
It's incredible, isn't it, Andy? Absolutely.
This is one of the challenges that everyone's going to be facing this weekend, because presentation will be absolutely key. These fish in this reservoir, although there's 3,500 acres of it, have been fished for an awful lot. So little subtleties, different colours of buzzer, different diameters of tippet, so you know, anything from 8-pound line to 13, which is the kind of twang that Billy uses because he likes to drag them in. This is the sort of subtleties that we're going to be experiencing.
You know, you've got 3 flies all hanging down nicely, like, you know, good presentation. And you're hoping a fish is just going to come along and grab it. And you'll know when they grab it.
Well, the maestro's done it again. We're just talking about going in because we've had a lovely couple of hours, although Billy's not had many takes. I've had a couple of follows and 1 fish.
I was just reeling in, Danny.
Yeah, he said, that's it, I've had enough, let's go to the pub and
That's
have
a brownie
beer.
as well.
It's a brownie.
It's a brownie.
Oh, lovely. Well, what a way to finish our session. After about 2.5 hours or so of trying to suss out what these fish want, Billy, right at the last knockings, has managed to hook one of the fish that this venue is famous for, a Rutland brown trout, which is absolutely brilliant. Well, Billy, that was an interesting evening, wasn't it, last night? And I think we sussed out 1 or 2 things, but judging by what we've seen so far this morning, that this whole reservoir is a completely different place to what it was last night.
Absolutely. I mean, the wind's dropped probably, 10 miles an hour, so it's roughly about 5, 6. It's perfect ripple, absolutely magnificent cloud cover. Yesterday it was blowing, horrible, cold and sunny. So
we still managed a couple of fish though,
we got a couple out, and I was very pleased to do that, and we got them on camera, which is great. And we showed a couple of methods that, you know, I thought would probably work today, and it looks like they are.
And we're back on 53, and there is Ian Barr stripping away. Sure sign that there's a fish on. I'll tell you what, the fascinating thing about watching this bloke fish, he's an absolute machine, isn't he?
He doesn't let up. He doesn't let up. His mind is constantly going round and round and round and round. The guy is always looking for an angle, and we talk about it a lot, but these guys get chances every day, and it's how you react to those chances. And he's right at the top of the tree on there when it comes down to it.
He doesn't like losing either. When you fish against someone like him, Gareth, what's your sort of mental approach to it? Because you know you're in for a fight, aren't you?
Yeah, you've just got to switch off to him, because he's going to get inside your head. He loves playing the mind games. He loves telling you how good he is, and he is.
He does.
and he can back it up, to be fair to him. But if you do get a slight edge on him, then you can play the games back on him. So you just got to see how it pans out.
Interesting to see there's boat number 50, which has got one of Ian Barr's teammates, Paul Rennock, on the engine, but the man on the point, Paul Golding, that's the second fish we've seen him hook into, Gareth.
The two guys are fishing 2 contrasting methods. So you got Paul's pulling, and you got Paul, who's primarily a nymph angler, and he's just hanging out there. And I think, looking at it, the guys who are pulling are missing more fish, and the guys who are fishing the nymphs, they're not getting as many takes, but they're locking up on every one. So it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. See, Barry's missed more than a few there, and Brad seems to be landing his, so he's caught up with him. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this match pans out. I think also later on in the day, they're not going to want to chase as much as they will first thing, and that subtle method is really going to come into its own.
I had actually a little session with Ian Barr at Rutland the other week, just to sort of see what all this was about. And the method that he was employing there was he had 4 flies on the line. So on the point he had a very bright, very gaudy blob. About 5 feet above it he had a buzzer or a nymph. Then another 5 feet on a blob and a nymph. So the idea of being, of course, what you guys are talking about, is the fish are attracted to the blob and come in and nail the nymph, don't they?
Absolutely. That's what it says. An attractor fly with an imitative fly behind it, and you know that's what they're feeding on. And it's a proven method.
And fellas, interesting that we've been talking about Ian Barr for the last couple of minutes, and there on boat 29 on the engine is his brother Craig, also an England international. You might notice he looks very similar to Ian. In fact, they're identical twins, Billy.
Well, exactly, two peas in a pod, but both fish completely differently, I think, and different attitudes to the sport. So it's quite interesting the rivalry they got. Is
Yeah, a little bit of sibling rivalry there, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. It's well known in fly fishing circles. Yeah, that they really compete against each other.
So this is the boat 40 is David Hopp from the Welsh Hawks and Sean Brooks from Team Vision. And it looks like Sean, who just the other day won a gold medal with England, and there he is landing a fish, very happy.
It looks like it's going to go back, so he's on his released fish. Obviously doing quite well up here.
One of the reasons we've come up here is to see the men in boat 23, which is just over to the left-hand side. And the man on the engine is Kevin Porteous, who, of course, last year led his team, the FNF Falcons, to victory in this event. And I spoke to Kevin this morning. He's well up for this.
I'm not surprised. The guys fished incredibly well all of last year. They're a really good, strong outfit, and they fished really well as a team. Last year they nearly did the double. They got a second in the international final in October as well. So, yeah, good outfit. And they all seem to be hanging around together, so they'll be bouncing off each other. A lot of information being passed around, and as you say, they're working as a tight little group here. So,
but as Gareth says, it's best a good team will communicate well together, and you've got to stop and you've got to talk. Unfortunately, you give your information away to the other boat partner, but you've got to take that on the chin, haven't you, Gareth?
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I always step into a boat, Bill, and say, This is what I've got. This is what, if you're going to share with me, I'll share with you.
Yeah.
And then it's up to you, pair of you, to go and batter out against each other. Yeah. You know, if he knows what you know and he does a better job, he's a good angler. He deserves to win.
It's like in cricket, if you're facing Shane Warne, you might know he's bowling a leggy. You've still got to be able to play it, haven't you?
Yeah. If I knew what a leggy was, I'd comment.
Well, Gareth, you mentioned earlier on about time bonus. It's 12:15 and there's a bloke sat on the engine who you know very well.
I do.
On boat 56 called Kieran Jenkins, and he doesn't appear to be doing a lot. What's going on there?
I think he's at his 12. Good lad. Yeah, the guy is singly one of the best anglers on the planet right now, and it doesn't surprise me. He is an absolute weapon, and when he's got a pot of fish in front of him, he's just going to catch them all. So, yeah, he's done.
Kieran's going to have a long old day, isn't he, Bill?
Yeah, and looking rather smug, as I said earlier. It's brilliant. I mean, he is such a good angler.
And Billy, we're behind boat 25. The man on the engine, Sean McCaffrey, was top rod in this event last year. He's already had 9 fish.
I think he was top rod as well in the international final, wasn't he, last year, Gareth? He's a cracking angler. They come all the way from Scotland and they've mastered this lake, which is, there's nothing like this in Scotland, apart from Menteith, I suppose, a little bit like this. But it's an art to fish this lake, and they seem to have mastered it, which is great.
Well, chaps, we've moved from the North Arm into the south. And I've got to say, sitting over here looking at boat number 13, isn't this a fantastic place to be? Look at it. Not a bad house over there either, Gareth. You fancy that one?
Don't think it's out of my budget.
We're looking, and we talked earlier on about Ian Barr, double world champion, of course. Well, there's another world champion in boat 13, in Russell Owen, ex-world champion. 7 fish they've caught so far between them. So Russell's at the pointy end, and we've got on the engine Paul Haskey of the Team Eleanor. What's the difference down here, Billy? I mean, it's flat calm, isn't it? It's fantastic.
It's a different ball game down here, isn't it? But we've seen more fish move coming across here, and I'm going to say conditions are perfect. And surprised Russell's not doing better, because as I say, world champion. He's a great fly fisherman, and making the call here is all important. The guys in the north have made the right call. People in the south have made a reasonable call, but the north is definitely, I think, we haven't checked Manton yet. We'll have to check what's happening at Manton, but that's new on me as well. I didn't know that Manton was fishing, but
so what's your feeling about why this isn't fishing then? Is it simply just because of the wind direction? What's going on?
I think it's where there's some recently introduced fish have been found up the North Arm. Maybe somebody's missed them. maybe they were looking for bigger fish, who knows. But yeah, those fish up the north are really on. The water clarity is a little bit better up there too. Whether that's making an impact on the way the fish are feeding. But yeah, there are a lot more fish getting caught up the north.
Well, chaps, we're well into the afternoon session. Interesting, looking over at boat 37, we can see John Hardy on the engine, but the man next to him, Chris Guthrie, isn't doing an awful lot, Billy.
No, he's a legend of fly fishing, Chris Guthrie, and he also used to play football for Newcastle United.
Did he really?
Yeah, he was a professional footballer, and he's normally the chap you'd find right at the very top of the North Arm pulling lumps out on very small dry flies. But he's obviously been taken down here by Mr. Hardy, and looks like a little bit of a lesson's been given.
So what we're saying here then is obviously Chris has had his limit. He's had his 12 fish, probably in water that he didn't particularly want to fish, and John Hardy's still fishing. Interesting stuff, Gareth.
Yeah, you never know the cookie crumbles. But Chris, I fished a couple of matches with Chris. He's a top-class angler, and he really knows what it's about. So, yeah, interesting, because John's normally the one who's giving it out.
Yeah.
Changes of the day today.
So there we are, 2:15 in a match that's supposed to finish at 6 o'clock, and Kieran Jenkins and Alan Gamble coming off the water because they've already had their bag, 24 fish between them in a couple of hours. Sensational angling, job done. So Kieran, talk us through your tactics. We had a little chat with you out there and I could see you sat on the hand, so we knew that you'd emptied it, and I think you had 12 fish in an hour and 40, which is a sensational performance. Well done. Talk us through your tactics.
We had a 12-foot fast tip on. 3 nymphs and a blob and a point, just cast out and keep it as still as you can. A lot of fish for me come to the blob this morning, which were fresh, and a lot of you come to the buzzers, isn't it? Yeah. Same sort of method.
Can I ask you what took you to that? I mean, is this because you've been practicing hard, I know, so is it just that you knew the fish were there, Kieran?
Yeah, we spent the last 2 days here. We didn't go up there till yesterday evening. Yesterday evening it was full of fish, so we sent all our boats there.
And there, ladies and gentlemen, in boat 56, which is just stolen from Kieran Jenkins and Alan Gamble, is my co-commentator, Gareth Jones, who's been gagging at the chance of trying to get onto some of those fish all morning. So he's nicked their boat and he's off out to see if he can catch some on dry fly. So as the boats returned after an exceptional day on Rutland Water, it was clear who'd taken the lead. Inspired by Kieran Jenkins, the FNF Nymphomaniacs were out in front. Their 6-man team caught 70 fish between them for £164 4 ounces. Change fly fishing, led by an impressive 12-fish haul from Jock Kettles, were 2 fish and just £8 back. The Corrib Hoppers, all the way from Ireland, were third. With the weather set fair, anyone in the top 5 had the potential of challenging the leaders on day 2. What an incredible morning. The sun is shining, there's barely a breath of wind here at Rutland Water. Now you might think that's a good thing, but actually for the competitors taking part in the Airflo Spring Invitational, it's not that promising. These conditions for fly fishing make things really, really hard because the fish are really spooky. Now, let me tell you, yesterday this place delivered an incredible result because over 1,000 fish were caught by the anglers taking part. Today, we're going to see some really interesting fishing, huge changes in tactics. Can't wait to see what's going to go on. Jock, you had a hell of a day yesterday. Congratulations. What's the plan this morning?
Well, the plan this morning is to go back to the same area, but we've scaled everything down. So we're going to be fishing small buzzers, small nymphs, some white on the point. The tack will be floating lines, midge tips. Hopefully that'll keep us there or thereabouts.
When you look at these conditions there, I mean, this place is beautiful, but these conditions are not the ideal ones for fly fishing, are they?
I mean, these conditions are obviously make things much harder. But this is the kind of conditions our team likes. We can do well in these conditions. We have some not bad tactics for this, so we're hoping that pays off today as well.
You guys fish Corrib, of course, and that's notoriously a very tricky water.
That's right.
So what, in terms of the stuff that you're going to be seeing out there today, how does fishing Corrib help you?
A big advantage we'd have, I'd say, definitely, is pure patience. nothing else but patience. We'll sit in water all day for a fish, like, if we have to. If we think there's fish there, we'll sit it out. Because that's the way it is at home sometimes, when you're maybe buzzer fishing in conditions like this, so that's exactly what we'll do. We'll not panic moving from A to B, whatever.
Chasing.
If we think there's fish there, we'll stick at it.
Team-wise, you're top of the tree. It's sometimes a great position to be in, leading from the front, but you are there to be shot at, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. Just hope we got a big enough lead to keep ahead, and hopefully the conditions today will make things a bit harder for everybody.
Brilliant day yesterday, Tony.
Thank you.
The weather's not fantastic today for you, is it?
No, not at all. I think it's the same for everybody though. I think the catch rates will probably drop down today for everyone, so probably not a bad thing for us really. So Cess and Change sort of pulled a little way in front of everyone else, so hopefully it's going to be too much of a gap for the other teams to catch up with us. So we'll see how things go.
Looking around, obviously we've got loads of great anglers here,
Yeah.
and great anglers in your team too. What would it mean for your team to win this event?
Oh, that's a big thing because the best teams in the country are here this weekend, so it's a huge achievement for us to come out on top of all. They're all great anglers here, so yeah, it's a big thing for us. Yeah, huge achievement.
Well, good morning, gentlemen. This is the second day. Mr. Jones, did you sleep well?
I'm excited. Obviously, my team's out there in the lead, and I think I had a sleepless night for them. It's going to be a little bit trickier today. A lot of fish caught yesterday. Going to go a little bit more nymphy, and as we can see, Nick's just landed a fish, so it's probably going to put a little bit of pressure on young Kieran there. Yeah.
We're looking at boat number 2, and that's Kieran Jenkins of the FNF Nymphomaniacs on the point. And on the engine, it's Nick Dunn of the Flash Attack Reservoir Dogs, and Nick has just put a fish back. Billy, we saw Kieran sitting on his hands yesterday. We've come over early to try and see him catch a few fish. It'd be interesting to see how this match is going to go today, won't it?
Absolutely. Different day, different conditions, different wind direction. It's they're still there, but there are a lot of spooky fish now. I think after 1,000 was caught yesterday. I mean, that is just amazing, isn't it?
Isn't it ever? I mean, this just shows why this place is so highly regarded by the anglers. 1,000 fish.
Fly fishing heaven. I mean, it's got hatches and it's water clarity. The stockfish are beautiful. They pack on weight. There's not many fisheries. There's a few in England that when you put them in smaller, they come out bigger. And this is one of them.
Let's talk a little bit about tactics then, Gareth, because yesterday there was a real mixture of stuff that we saw out on the water. I know you sneaked out and fished dries, and I think you had half a dozen fish, didn't you?
Yeah, I did all right, but then there was no pressure on me to catch them, so it's always easy on a no pressure day. But I think what's going to happen today is obviously a lot of fish caught on brighter flies yesterday in the first 2 hours, and it's gone really nymphy now. Yeah. And what I mean by that is the fish are actually going to be feeding on the naturals. And the guys are going to have to tone down their presentation, slow down their retrieves, and actually imitate what the fish are feeding on to get a bit of good success today. So it's going to be interesting. I'll see how it pans out.
Well, look, here we are, and something we didn't get to see yesterday because he caught them all too quickly. Hour and 40 minutes for 12 fish, and that is Kieran Jenkins playing a fish. There you go, Gareth.
Good lad. Nice to see. Let's see if he goes back or if he's on catch and release yet. Let's see.
We've already seen a few fish caught this morning. I'd actually lost count of the number of fish we saw yesterday, Billy.
Oh, yeah, it was just tremendous. It was like rods bending everywhere, wasn't it? It was, a credit to Rutland, absolute credit.
Let me ask you a little bit about fishing pressure, because one of the things I don't know about this style of fishing is, we've got 3,500 acres of water and there's thousands of fish in here. But how do they respond to angling pressure? You've had 120 of potentially the best fly anglers in Europe going up and down these banks, catching fish and, throwing their flies in and everything else. How do those fish react to that kind of pressure?
Well, it depends how much food's in the area to start with. If there's a lot of food, they'll stay, but generally they'll drop a little bit deeper. And also, as I said earlier, they'll stop chasing those bright flies and they'll want something a bit more imitative. Fished well, slowly, almost static. But then also there's a heck of a lot of water where there's fish. Yeah. And somebody's gonna go and get a lucky run. They're gonna go out of the way with no pressure on them and catch a lot of fish somewhere else today. So, it's do you stick or do you twist? Tough call.
I like what you said yesterday about this place giving you chances. Every time you come and fish it, it will give you a chance, and it's whether you're able to see that chance and take advantage of it. I really like that analogy. You know, it will let you know.
Well, look, every top angler's got great subsurface vision, and they almost think in 3 dimensions. So they're always thinking of where their fly is in the water column, and the very top guys imagine the fish is following their fly every cast. So there's never a surprise. Okay, if they get a fish, they get a fish. And if you get a fish on the drop, then the fish are higher in the water column. If you get them at the end of the retrieve, maybe you want to cast a little bit further and keep the flies at depth for longer. So there's all these little small variables, and if you can react to them well, then it can mean a big difference in the bag at the end of the day.
So we've steamed up to the area where all the fish were caught yesterday, and this is where Kieran Jenkins had his bag of 12 fish in an hour and 40 minutes. And you can see that there are 2 of the FNF boats, the Nymphomaniacs, boat 61, which has got Matt Russell, and boat 32, which is Tony Cartwright, who was the other top rod in the team yesterday, Gareth. We've also seen on the way up Rob Edmonds, and Rob hasn't had a fish yet. And we know that Tony and Matt here in this bay that was so prolific yesterday have only had 1 fish each. I sense your nerves are starting to jangle, Mr. Jones.
Yeah, jangling a lot, actually. I think people forget these fish have got tails, and they're on their way. You know, they bugged out of here, and you know, you just got to use a bit of common sense and get out of the zone. You've got to go and find some fresh fish now.
Well, chaps, we've made our way over to the other side, and there in boat number 6, Richard Cooper of the Flash Attack Reservoir Dogs, and the man who caught more fish, or heavier fish, in fact, than anybody else yesterday, Jock Kettles, and Change FF and their team are really in contention, but the news is not good. In fact, you can see that Richard's just started the engine. He's had 1 fish, and Jock, after 2 hours of this match, is blanking.
Yeah, it's tough at the top. It is very tough at the top. And Jock is the smiling assassin out there. You know, he's always got that little grin on his face, and there's always something going on in his head, but he catches a lot of fish. They're just not on. They're just not on. And I've got a feeling that this north arm's going to bite everybody today, and that south arm's going to switch on and going to hurt a few teams at the top there.
How far back can you get in these events? So the Nymphos are well out on top today, Gareth, but how far back can you realistically catch up?
It can happen. The last time we won the Anglian, we were 20 pounds behind on the first day, and we ended up beating the team in front of us by 20 pounds. So we pulled 40 pounds worth of fish back in one day. It's unusual. It doesn't happen every year. But, when it does go right for a team and they all make a good decision, that's what happens. It's a team effort.
With the amount of fish in here, they could switch on somewhere else quite easily, and someone could be bagged up by now.
Sometimes it's just the guys keep on working the same water, and if they just move out another 30, 40, 50 yards, they'd probably be straight back into fish.
Well, I was woken this morning with bad curtains, and it was about 4 a.m, and those fish have been feeding since 4 a.m. So they switch on and off when the buzzer hatches, so they can just go for about 6 hours without feeding, and you can be on millions of them, they won't have anything.
Fantastic. Billy Rankin, woken by bad curtains.
I've heard the worst things. One of the things we're noticing today is that a lot of the guys, Billy picked up on it, they caught a lot of fish fishing a little bit quicker than we normally expect. I think that's because of the stockfish, and they're using the same approach today, and we just feel that if the guys just slow down their retrieve, they'd probably get those feed-in fish.
Do you know the other thing I'm noticing today, this morning? In this boat, in the commentary boat, we've caught a hell of a lot of fish this morning. and there are people out there blanking, and you two have probably caught your limits, I reckon.
Done and dusted.
Let's get back for a cuppa, absolutely. Well, we've steamed all the way down the South Arm, and we're looking at boat number 41, and that is Craig Barr, who's just slipped the net under another fish. In fact, that's the second fish we've seen him land since we've been here. And the interesting thing about this is there is stuff going on everywhere, Billy. The place is alive.
Yeah, the terns are all picking up either buzzers or olives. It's in feeding fish everywhere. We've seen a bucket load of really large feeding fish here.
Gareth, I think it's probably realistic to say that Craig's team, the Reservoir Dogs, are too far back to challenge here, but you never know.
You never know. There's a bag of fish coming together here. Craig's on 7 now. He's got a couple of hours to go. He's got plenty of time to put a bag of 12 together, which on a day like today when all the other boats are just hanging around waiting for something to happen, that's a big score.
Craig's in again, look at that.
On
So
fire.
they've just moved the boat round. I tell you what's fascinating for me watching this is that there are 6 anglers here. And since we've pulled into this bay, he's had 3 fish. We think that Sean McCaffrey might have bounced one, Gareth. You sort of think he lost
I think
one.
he may have broken in one.
But what is Craig Barr doing that is different to the other 5? You know, just one, it must be one little thing, a fly, whatever.
Best, he's doing nothing. He's not moving his line very much. As we were saying earlier, we think people are fishing too fast, and Craig's just sitting there fishing static buzzer, basically straight. We call it straight lining, and it's an art. It's very difficult for anglers not to do anything, and most anglers try to move their flies too quick, and the art of it is the fisherman static.
Well, boat 41 over to our right is playing another fish. Mr. Craig Barr, Esquire, is just about to slip the landing net under fish number 8. And I thought it might be useful if we had a little bit of explanation about the kind of the naturals that these guys are talking about. Now, I've managed to achieve something which is rare in fly fishing circles, which is to get people like Gareth Jones and people like Billy Rankin to show you inside their fly boxes. So, Gareth, you've got a lovely little box there of all sorts of sweeties.
Yeah.
Tell me what we're looking at.
Okay, well, we're generally looking at imitating the buzzer pupa. So this is when the buzzer comes up from the bottom, changes from a bloodworm into a pupa, and it's going to come up through the water column to hatch and become an adult insect. What you find is you've got a fairly slim body, about 2/3 of the length. Then you've got a thorax area, and then these little orange bits on the side here, they represent the cheeks. And those cheeks, they represent the wing buds. And what they are is the wings getting ready to push out, and that's why they've got this little orange colour, where the blood is being pumped through the body, ready to hatch. The guys are catching on buzzer pupa, although we've also got some olives hatching. The olives, a little bit more tricky to imitate as a nymph, but the buzzer pupa is great because you can just chuck it out and hold on.
And this, Billy, is right up your street, isn't it? This is the sort of fishing I know you love, and you've managed to nick one of Gareth's fly. Is he going to get that box back? That's why.
I would love to steal them, but this is what I would be using. Seeing these moving fish, these are things we call them culls, but it's cull de canard, which is the duck feather there, Andy, and that fly body stays underneath the water, and this stays above, and imitating the pupa right in the surface film.
Well, Billy, we're down at the sharp end. We've lost our co-commentator again this afternoon. No surprises there. Gareth Jones has gone fishing. We're looking again at boat number 6, which is Jock Kettles, who was the top rod yesterday. Jock, we now know, has got 1 fish. This is going to be fascinating because his team change were just £8 off the leading team Nymphomaniacs going into today. And I'm sensing that things have been a real struggle for some of the teams. It's going to be fascinating to see who's won this.
Well, as I was saying, the stockies have been bashed, and they're not being bashed today. It's been very, very difficult. A lot of changeable conditions, and people are running around all over the place looking for fish.
If you look around this little area around us now, where Jock is drifting gently in almost no wind, this is like a mill pond now. There are 9 boats in this bay, another 4 just round the corner. It's extraordinary to see them all grouped so closely together, and you just get the feeling that there is a bit of, I won't say panic, but there'll be a lot of anxiety creeping in among these anglers. And Billy, there goes Matt Griffiths in boat 1. Only 1 fish for Matt. They've spent awful long time down at Transformers, obviously, and it just hasn't happened for them. Brad Gifford on the engine. It's been a tough day for those boys, and such good anglers too. Amazing stuff.
Here's Rutland for you. You know, one day you're a king and next day you're a pauper.
The key to this is whether FNF Nymphomaniacs can manage to find a way to keep hold of their overnight lead. And there is boat 3 with Rob Edmonds on the engine. When we saw him earlier, he was blanking 2.5, 3 hours into the match. He's just given us a signal that he's got 4 fish. This could be massive.
Absolutely massive. If all your guys come in with a reasonable bag like that on a day like today.
And tucked away in a corner, boat number 2, the man we've seen catch so many fish, or certainly talked about this weekend catching so many fish on the point, Kieran Jenkins. He's got 8 fish for Nymphomaniacs, Billy. I mean, that's the kind of performance that can win you a championship like this.
He's at it again, isn't he? fishing machine, eh? Fantastic performance yesterday, and on a really hard graft day, he's come up with a really good bag.
Well, Billy, the one team that are posing a major threat to the leaders from yesterday were the boys from Corrib, and there is boat 62 with Mark Thomas, their honorary Welshman in the Irish team, who looks like he's changing a fly, and he's in a boat with Tony Curtis, and they're not doing too badly.
No, Tony's an old Rutland hand.
It's interesting with the Corrib boys, isn't it? Because, I mean, Mark Thomas has had 3 fish. They were decided that earlier on this morning they were saying how hard they'd fight and how patient they'd have to be. They knew what was coming, I think, today, which mimics the kind of fishing that these guys have on Corrib. Be interesting to see if any of the other members of their team have picked up a few other fish, because I'm getting the sense that the nymphomaniacs have actually managed to hold on to their lead. We will see. We won't be able to tell until the rest of the boats come in, but it is starting to look that way, isn't it?
Yeah, we're in the last sort of 45 minutes of the match, well, the last half an hour. And to me, when I'm looking at it, it sounds like the nymphomaniacs have held on. I would have thought there's a good bag, and all of them have got a few fish each. And they've got such a good lead. The change, I don't think, have done very well today. And the other two, Costa and Corrib, will be fighting for third.
Well, you probably didn't need any proof to show that Rutland Water's an extraordinary venue, but look at this. 20 minutes ago it was flat calm, the sun was shining, and now a storm has blown in and it's absolutely throwing it down to make the end of this match even more extraordinary than you could possibly believe. And the drama hasn't finished there. You can probably see behind me a queue of anglers waiting to get their fish weighed in. And the rumour is that Change have actually closed the gap on the nymphos. We're going to have to wait and see those totals at the end of the weigh-in. Well, Mr. Jones, this is looking like it's going to be insanely close. Tell me what you know.
All I know is Mr. Cartwright stuck it out at the top, and when everybody left, he put 10 fish in the bag, which is a big score today. The word on the street is Change have got 2 more fish than the nymphos, but the nymphos were 8 pounds ahead, so this is going to go right down to the wire, Andy.
So we're talking about the difference between these two teams being just 2 fish. After 2 days of fishing, it's going to come down to 2 fish.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, when you calculate the man hours, 6-man team, 8 hours each, there's a lot of time on the water, and for it to be so tight, it's just incredible.
How are your nerves at this stage, Gareth?
I think they're better than the boys are. It's a big thing to win this, and I know both teams, they've been the top of the game for the last 10 or 15 years, and there'll be big one-upmanship on whoever takes the trophy today.
Well, Gareth, we've just done some maths, and the guys from Scotland, with this weigh-in to go, are £77 behind nymphos. There's 6 of them in the team. They're going to have to go some to catch up, aren't they?
I'd still be tight. I wouldn't count them out yet. Let's see where these bags go, because that's going to be the deciding factor. And all these boys will know that they've lost a fish or 2 in play. I spoke to Tony Cartwright earlier, and he's lost 4 fish in play today. Oh. And I've been in matches where we've lost by 1/4 of an ounce.
Oh no!
And you just know, you put the net into 2 or 3 of those during the day, and one of those fish would have changed everything. So it's going to be, that's a good fish.
Best fish is £4.1.
So that's Jock, who was top rod yesterday, and he's not had a good day either, has he? That's extraordinary. So now some maths need to be done, and in a few moments we'll know who's won this fantastic competition. And that's been the closest match that you could possibly imagine. Change fly fishers go up to claim the runners-up prize. The difference between them and the overall winners, Nymphomaniacs, has been a staggering £4. That's 2 Rutland fish, or in fact 1 decent brown trout. After 2 days and over 1,500 fish caught, the difference is just 2. And doesn't that just show what a fantastic competition this is? And Kieran Jenkins leads them up with a beaming smile, grabs the hand of Gareth Jones and gets the trophy with his teammates. Big smiles all round. Haven't they fished superbly these last couple of days? What a brilliant performance from them. Well, fellas, that was a little bit squeaky, wasn't it?
Just a bit, but close enough is good enough.
I mean, essentially, we're talking one fish, aren't we, Kieran? Maybe
Yeah.
two, £4.
That's all it is. That's all it is. We had a couple of nice bags today, didn't we? So that bumped us up
nice fish.
and kept us there, I think. So
It's fine line between all the top teams, to be honest. So it can go either way. So we were just lucky today. We had the run of the mill. So we're happy with the result. Yeah.
What's it like fishing with this lot?
it's unbelievable. We learn so much every time we're out on the water, and it's great when we put it all together and come with the results.
Yeah, I think the big thing, we're all good friends as well. You know, we've been friends for like 20 plus years, so it's a really good crack when we go away. Yeah.